get here? How did the world even begin?
Yeah, these aren't simple questions, are they?
Not at all. They're really fundamental human things, curiosities we've probably had since, well, forever. Since we first looked up at the sky.
Absolutely.
So today on the deep dive, we're going to tackle maybe the biggest quest there is, understanding the origins of the world and of us, mankind.
And we're looking at it from several really profound angles.
Exactly. We've got science, religion, philosophy, even mythology, all these different lenses.
It's a broad scope.
It is. And our mission really is to give you a kind of shortcut through all this complexity. We want to pull out the key ideas, the important bits of knowledge from our sources.
Sort of distill it down.
Yeah, give you a clear overview, maybe some surprising facts, those aha moments, without getting totally bogged down.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm genuinely excited about this. It's just fascinating how these different frameworks try to make sense of, well, everything, our existence.
Me too. It's a rich topic.
Okay, so let's dive in. Where do we start? Maybe with the scientific perspective.
Yeah.
The story told by evidence and theories.
Makes sense. Scientifically speaking, the story really starts big. Cosmic scale. We're talking about 13.8 billion years ago with the Big Bang.
The Big Bang. Everyone's heard of it. But what does the theory actually say?
Well, it's not just stuff flying outwards from a point. It's the idea that the entire universe, space, time, matter, energy, everything exploded from this incredibly hot, dense state.
The very beginning of everything.
Exactly. And it's been expanding ever since. As it expanded, it cooled down and elementary particles formed. Then atoms, mostly the simple ones, hydrogen and helium.
Okay, so universe starts, expands, cools, basic elements form. What about Earth?
Right. Fast forward quite a bit. Billions of years later, around 4.5 billion years ago, Earth forms.
From what?
From a giant cloud of gas and dust. Leftovers, really, from older stars that had lived and died. Gravity did the work, pulling all this stuff together.
Nuclear dust, essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. And early Earth was, well, intense. Lots of volcanoes, constant bombardment by meteors. Eventually, it cooled enough to form a crust, oceans, the layers we know.
And then life.
Then life. The current thinking points to maybe 3.8 billion years ago in the early oceans. There are a couple of main ideas.
Like the primordial soup.
That's one, yeah. A warm mix of chemicals, maybe sparked by lightning or UV radiation, forming complex molecules. Or another idea is deep-sea hydrothermal vents.
Volcanic vents on the ocean floor.
Exactly. Superheated water rich in chemicals. Either way, somehow, life got started. Simple cells first. Prokaryotes without a nucleus.
The basic building blocks.
Right. And then, over a vast amount of time, more complex cells evolved eukaryotes with a nucleus and internal structures. And eventually, that led to multicellular life. Plants, animals, fungi, everything.
It's just the timescale is staggering. Billions of years for all that to happen.
It really is.
When you think about that sheer scale, what's the big takeaway for someone trying to, wrap their head around it? Beyond just the sequence of events.
I think the profound thing is how science suggests this unified origin. Everything connects back. From that initial tiny point to the stars, to Earth, to life, to us, it's one continuous evidence-based story.
A single thread connecting everything. That's powerful.
Yeah.
And speaking of connections, this is where it gets really personal, right? Connecting the cosmos to our own story, our species.
Exactly. So shifting focus now to human origins. The scientific picture shows Homo sapiens, modern humans, evolving from earlier ape-like ancestors. This happened in Africa over a period starting maybe 6 or 7 million years ago.
Not a straight line though, right? More like a branching tree.
Definitely not a straight line. It's complex. You have key stages like Australopithecus. Around 4 million years ago, they were walking upright.
Bipedalism, a big step.
Huge. Then Homo habilis, maybe 2.4 million years ago, the handyman, known for using simple tools.
Okay.
After them, Homo erectus, around 1.9 million years ago. They controlled fire, which was revolutionary, and they were the first hominins to migrate out of Africa.
Wow, okay, fire and migration.
Big leaps. And then finally, us. Homo sapiens, modern humans, appearing roughly 300,000 years ago, also in Africa. And the key developments there are things like complex language, abstract thought, art, symbolism.
That ability to think beyond the immediate.
Precisely. And from Africa, Homo sapiens spread out across the entire planet over tens of thousands of years, migrating, adapting. An incredible journey.
Covering the whole globe.
Yep. And then comes another massive shift. Around 10,000 BCE, give or take, the Neolithic Revolution.
Agriculture, Farming?
Exactly. People started farming, domesticating animals. This meant they could settle down. No more constant wandering for food.
So permanent settlements.
Right. Villages grew, then towns, then the first cities. And with cities came, well, civilization as we think of it. Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Indus Valley, China, Mesoamerica.
All these ancient centers popping up.
And developing things like writing, laws, organized trade, complex religions. It fundamentally changed human society. If you connect it back, that abstract thinking capacity we developed as Homo sapiens was crucial.
For organizing societies, creating shared rules, shared stories.
Absolutely. That ability to cooperate on a large scale based on shared ideas and beliefs, that's what the Neolithic Revolution really enabled, building on our evolutionary history. It's a key moment setting the stage for, well, everything that followed.
So we've got this vast scientific timeline, from the universe's birth to complex human societies. It's an amazing narrative built on evidence.
It is.
But humans have been asking, how did we get here? Long before we had, particle accelerators or fossil records. There are other incredibly powerful stories.
Absolutely right. Which brings us to the religious and mythological perspectives. These offer very different kinds of answers, often focus more on meaning and purpose than on physical mechanisms.
Like the Abrahamic traditions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam.
Exactly. There, you typically find a narrative of divine creation. God creating the world in a set period, often 6 days, as you see in Genesis, Adam and Eve as the first humans.
And a focus on humanity's relationship with God.
Very much so. A sense of divine purpose, moral responsibility, a unique place for humans within creation.
Okay, that's one major stream. What about something like Hinduism?
Hinduism presents a really different cosmology. It's cyclical, not linear. The universe goes through these immense cycles of creation, preservation, destruction, and then rebirth.
Over and over again.
Endlessly, yeah. This is often represented by the Trimurti, Brahma the creator, Vishnu the preserver, and Shiva the destroyer. It's a vast cosmic dance.
Fascinating contrast.
Yeah.
And say, Chinese traditions.
In Chinese cosmology, especially thinking about Taoism, the universe often emerges from a state of primordial chaos, or from the Tao, that ultimate sort of indefinable principle underlying everything.
Not necessarily a personal creator god.
Not in the same way, no. It's more about natural processes and balance, often symbolized by yin and yang, those opposing but complementary forces that shape reality.
Right, yin and yang. And then there's Greek mythology, which many people know.
Yes, the Greeks had chaos as the very beginning, a kind of void. From chaos emerged Gaia, Earth, and Uranus, sky. Then came the Titans, and eventually the Olympian gods like Zeus, Hera, Poseidon.
And these gods were very involved in human affairs, weren't they?
Oh, constantly. They were powerful anthropomorphic figures who shaped the world and meddled in human lives, driving destiny, often with their own dramas and conflicts playing out.
It's striking how different these stories are. Creation in days, endless cycles, emergence from chaos, gods shaping destiny.
Very different narratives. But what's interesting is the underlying human need they all seem to address.
The need for an origin story, for meaning.
Exactly. A way to understand our place, to find order and purpose in what can seem like a chaotic existence. The stories might differ wildly, but that fundamental quest for meaning seems universal. They tell us as much about human psychology, maybe, as about cosmic origins.
That's a great point. It's not just about what happened, but why it matters.
Precise.
So beyond the scientific accounts and these grand religious or mythological narratives, there's another way humans have grappled with these questions, right? Through pure reason and thought. Philosophy.
That's right. Philosophy dives into these questions too, but often by questioning the very foundations of our knowledge and reality itself.
How so? Who are some key figures there?
Well, if you go back to the ancient Greeks again, you have figures like Plato. He proposed that our physical world is just a shadow, an imperfect copy of a higher ideal realm of perfect forms.
So reality isn't quite what it seems.
For Plato, the true reality was elsewhere, accessible through reason. His student, Aristotle, took a different path. He was much more focused on observing the actual world around us, using logic and empirical evidence.
More grounded in observation.
Yes, and his approach deeply influenced later scientific thinking, actually. He emphasized causality, classification, logic.
Okay, so Plato looking beyond, Aristotle looking closely. What about more modern thinkers?
Moving forward many centuries, you get figures like René Descartes in the 17th century. He famously used systematic doubt to question everything he thought he knew.
Trying to find something certain.
Exactly, leading to his famous cogito, ergo sum, I think, therefore I am. He established his own consciousness as the bedrock certainty. Then you have Immanuel Kant in the 18th century.
What was his contribution?
Kant argued that our minds aren't just passive receivers of information about the world. He suggested our minds actively structure our experience, things like space, time, causality. They might be inherent frameworks of our understanding, not just features of the external world.
So we shape our perception of reality.
In a fundamental way, yes. That's what Kant explored. And what's really fascinating about philosophy is that it often doesn't just give answers. It pushes us to ask deeper, more fundamental questions.
Like, what does it even mean to know something? Or what is reality anyway?
Precisely. If our perception shapes reality, how much is objective? What is consciousness? Philosophy keeps probing those boundaries of understanding.
Okay, wow. So we've really covered a lot of ground. From the Big Bang 13.8 billion years ago,
through the evolution of life and humans.
the rise of civilizations, the power of abstract thought.
Then looking at divine creation stories, cosmic cycles, mythology.
And finally, philosophical inquiry into the nature of reality itself.
Yeah, it's quite a journey. And what this deep dive really highlights, I think, is that each of these perspectives, science, religion, mythology, philosophy, offers a unique lens.
A different way of looking at the same fundamental questions.
Exactly. They ask different things, use different methods, provide different kinds of understanding, and they aren't necessarily always in conflict. Sometimes they can be seen as complementary ways humans try to make sense of it all.
Addressing different aspects of our curiosity, perhaps, our need for empirical explanation, and our need for meaning and purpose.
I think that's a good way to put it. It shows the incredible range of human thought and our enduring quest for answers about where we came from and what it all means.
It truly is a testament to that relentless human curiosity.
Which leads us, maybe, to a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder.
Okay.